Hello and welcome to the OLM Dev Issue Triage meeting. Today is Thursday, March 3rd. We're going to take a look at some of the open issues against OLM registry and potentially other repositories such as Ruckpack and Combo. Let's get started taking a look at some of the open issues on OLM. So first up, we have 2677, delete unused CRD after operator uninstall. So looks like this is a feature request explaining that each time it's deleting an operator, we have to manually delete all the CRDs. And they're asking for the possibility to have the CRD being deleted automatically. So this is a pretty common feature request that we've seen with OLM. I see Daniel's basically said that due to the destructive nature of deleting CRDs, OLM decides not to remove CRDs as part of its on-installation process when you remove the CSV. And as he noted, there's a kubectl plugin in the kubectl operator that lets you basically list CRDs and then pipe that into a deletion call. That's something that was developed last year. So there is a way to do it on the client side. And then I left a comment here that this is something that in the new APIs we want to address.
I have a question.
Yep.
Would it make sense for us to include that, what you just said, in the OLM's documentation, like in the repo of OLM? Like if you want to delete all of the CRDs, include it here, or like run this command from this plugin? Yeah,
absolutely. I think I don't even know where on the OLM we don't document, I think, the deletion very well at all. The on-installation process, we spend a lot of time talking about the installation process. I'm not sure there isn't much documentation, if any, on actual, you know, or even like in the upstream side or whatever, like on, well, we have a section on uninstall actually. No, you're right. Here we go. Uninstall your operator.
Okay. Is there somewhere around? Yeah, so this is saying you have to find all of the CRDs and then delete them manually. Is that what that's saying?
Mm-hmm. First, understand which types are owned by the operator. They should decide which of these resources to delete on a case-by-case basis.
Mm-hmm.
So this is referring to the custom resources associated with the custom resource definition.
Would it make sense to include that plugin somewhere in here? Because yeah, this is definitely something we get in a common way. And if we're not like planning on solving it, we should probably like call it out and say we're not going to solve it like explicitly until we get the new APIs.
Decide whether or not it's here. So does the, wait a minute, this list command, wait a minute. So, well, I implemented this list command and it was for custom resources associated with own CRDs of an operator. Does it actually? Yes, this plugin allows you to list all instantiated CRs of an operator and then pipe them over to kubectl. So this is actually, so the plugin is actually slightly different. It doesn't necessarily delete CRDs. What it does is it cleans up the CRs associated with the CRDs owned by that operator. If that makes sense.
Okay, so, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, it is helpful to document that here because it could be helpful because, right, it's just saying basically cluster admin should decide which of these resources to delete on a case-by-case basis. But how do they get, you know, the command lets you quickly basically query the cluster to see what which CRs are associated. with the operator. So you're totally right. I think we should add this to the documentation here because it's helpful. I wonder if we want to open an issue against OLM for this or on the doc site.
Yeah, I think anything that we can do to improve the UX around uninstallation. I don't know what I'm trying to say there. Around uninstalling an operator, I think is good because I get this a lot. When I was initially learning OLM, its uninstallation was something that I didn't really understand. And so being really direct and like, because I feel like we get this question every other day. So I don't really know how we communicate this in a way that makes it so we don't get that question anymore, or it's just like some kind of tech debt that we just accumulate and say like, okay, cool, we'll take this now and then just keep answering this question. Like, I don't really know what the answer is.
It's definitely, yeah, there's definitely an element of like this specific tool, like I don't think is documented explicitly anywhere. Let's see if we can go to the OLM docs website. Trade documentation issue. Nice. Okay. So your operator. Yeah, I think this destructive nature of deleting CRDs. This is also when by design when OLM installs operator does not remove any of the operator's own CRDs to prevent data loss. So it kind of touches on this point.
Yeah. I think that the second part would be useful if we want to include that in our official documentation. But yeah, I don't want to spend too much time on this if it's already solved. And I guess it's just like a documentation issue.
Okay. Cool. All right, well, I left the little tracking issue there, so we have something there, that a little breadcrumb we can return to. So next up, yeah, so basically our solution is, I don't think OLM is current from OLM and its current wow. I know it's reasonable. Okay, just want to follow up there. Spent some time on that issue, but it is an interesting issue. Next up, we have also, do we want to triage this somehow? I mean, we'll just put this in the backlog. as something that is not necessarily something that we're going to address. I don't think. Okay. Next, we have an issue on Open Data Hub operator on reinstalling. It gets stuck on upgrade pending. Okay, there's no additional information. So I think we will ask. It could be stuck in pending. Maybe it's missing some requirements. So hopefully they'll come back with additional information. Otherwise, we'll just close this one out.
Yeah, don't we have a template for, I mean, this is a template, right, that he got this from and he didn't fill out any of it out.
Yeah. Maybe they were frustrated or something.
Well, they might be new to get to, I guess.
Yeah.
I'd almost be tempted to close it and have them reopen it, just so it doesn't clog our backlog, because I'm guessing they're never gonna come back anyway.
Yeah. That's true. Well, 7 days, maybe we'll give them some more time. I don't know how we want to triage this though.
Do we have a needs more information label?
Do we have something like that?
Triage needs information.
Triage needs it. Nice. Okay. Nice pink label. Okay. Yeah.
So, but I agree. Like, do we have something in our contribution guidelines that says how long we should wait before we decide to close something out that doesn't have the correct information? Like, we could do like what Chris suggests. If it's not set, do it immediately. Go back and fill out the report again.
I don't know that. I don't know if we have that information. Do we have that information?
Well, we don't have to sit on it here. I guess we could circle back. Circle back later for that. Maybe I'll put that on a list of to-dos.
Okay. Yeah. No, it's a good point. I think we also have our have like our bots and stuff that could potentially help with this type of thing.
Yes.
Auto
close anything that doesn't have the template filled out properly.
Right. For example, or that's certain age and has a needs information label. Okay, so I guess we can kind of don't know where to triage this, but we can, I guess, stick it. Actually, we won't put it triage it yet. So then next time we have a issue triage meeting, this issue will come up again, and maybe in 2 weeks we can close it if it's still on. Still no additional information. Okay, lower remove object has been modified errors. This is an issue I opened at some point. So this is related to, I think, the object has been modified errors that that have been, generally we get inquiries about this specific log quite a bit, that people think there's an error, but there's not actually. There's people think there's something wrong with OLM when they see this log message coming in, but it really just indicates that the controllers are trying to modify an object that has been modified and their local cached version of the object is stale.
It's just an optimistic collision, right? So you just got to retry it.
Yeah, exactly. So you have to retry it.
But so is that something that we spit out, or is that something that's being spit out automatically by the underlying client?
Right. It's being. I looked into this briefly. There's the work queue. Basically, it's being logged out at a level that I don't think we have direct control over, because it is an error. It's being handled in the queuing library. The other thing I wanted to mention is that this, I think I opened this because this also increases the volume of OLM logs as well, which is the other part of it. It not only confuses users, but it leads to some extra logs. So if it's possible to not have these log messages coming through at the info level on a cluster, that'd be great. But
I agree. I hate this one. This
Yeah.
drives me nuts too.
Another question is the rate that we're getting these error messages indicative of some problem that we're just going to be hiding? So we can like turn off the log, because we actually control the it's called the queue informer, the older abstraction that we have for older stuff, to handle requeuing events in the case of failure. We can tighten that log, but maybe there's some controller logic problems that are causing it to have collision way more often than it should. So do we want to track like it as a metric? Like when we see this, have a metric exported that's like number of collisions for a particular resource, so that we can like actually figure out whether it's affecting performance.
Or somehow if you can detect you've had this five times in a row within the past 30 seconds or something, then spit it out.
Yeah, then there's a problem. Then there's like it's between two controllers or something, or the controller is racing itself. That would be that's a good idea, I think.
generate a metric on when this modified error occurs, and so monitor like based on what objects are present in the cluster, or try to diagnose and then diagnose based on the number of instances.
So I think there's two things. One, the immediate solution to this is to change the log level, the level that this gets outputted at, so it stops clogging people's log exporters, log systems. And the other one is to have a separate story that's like, what is it? Try to detect races by exporting some metric, like what Chris described.
Yeah, it's like smart error condition checking or something, right? So know when you're in that situation versus blindly just knocking out every error.
Mm-hmm. And actually, this probably would make a really cool like self-contained operator. I don't even know if maybe there's something in Cube that does this already, where it figures out the rates at which different objects are being changed by different users. So sort of like an active audit log. So I know there's an audit log, but is there a way to go, these objects are really suspicious because they're flapping at some pre-configured rate?
Yeah, it seems like actually like a really neat kind of very small small little project or like tidbit to work on. I jotted down some notes. Maybe we can put this optimistically in the next release as something to look into, and we can see maybe someone on the team can pick this up. I think there'd be some value add in getting not seeing these error messages as much.
Yeah, definitely removing the log is something small, so we can tackle that pretty quickly.
Yeah. Okay, coming up next, Pear has one on flaky install plan mitigation. I'm going to skip that one for now. Catalog pods prevent scaling down. Okay, so this is interesting. So this is basically related to the fact that the catalog source pods that are owned by the catalog source object are not backed by a built-in controller. So it causes issues when trying to drain the node, which the cluster autoscaler does when it tries to scale the node down. So this is a known issue with the design of the way the catalog pods are being managed. Because they are being managed by a controller, but it's not a built-in controller, being managed by the catalog operator directly. And so it's this kind of awkward thing where we would have to have them be backed by a built-in controller just for the purpose of enabling draining. So I opened a small PR that just basically adds this annotation that makes it okay for the cluster autoscaler to evict the pod off the node, but it still doesn't help in the case where you're trying to drain the node directly and not you're not necessarily the cluster autoscaler. So I actually don't know what this particular issue I think would be resolved potentially by the PR because it's just straightforward. But the general issue backing this, I'm not sure that I know what the follow-up is here. This PR looks like it just needs an LGTM, and then no, it's out of date with master. Okay, well, it needs to get rebased and then it needs notes. I'd be happy to maybe we could discuss if anyone has any opinions on the underlying issue of draining nodes that have catalog pods on them, if that's something we want to tackle, or whether that causes any issues.
There's also the scale, right? What is it? The scale sub-resource.
Yep.
Which would make it work, right?
Can you add the scale sub-resource to any CRD and it'll honor that? Is that how you plug into this thing?
No, I'm not. I don't recall how to plug into scale CRDs, but like what I do recall is that if you implement it, I'm not sure if it has to be an API service even, but maybe it's something to look into is what I'm getting at, because supposedly if you implement the scale sub-resource, then all the scale operations will also work with your controller or your resource type, excuse me.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
I see there's another question here around if it would be possible for the user to specify some selector label for where these catalog source pod lands. Do we have any kind of configuration on? Well, the user creates a catalog source, right? So they could add labels. Well, they create the catalog source object. They don't create the underlying pod, right? I don't know if we propagate labels from the.
I thought you guys added something just recently for the horizontal pod autoscaler work that OpenShift had in it to automatically add some metadata to that. I thought somebody added that recently, like in December or something.
Yeah, Per did.
So,
Pretty sure.
Oh, the catalog. I think I saw something about that, but that was it might have been an enhancement. I don't know. Did we land the feature for that?
Let me look it up.
Okay.
Issues from Per. You'll have to find it. I couldn't tell you what I can tell you is that there was some contention around that issue. So my confidence isn't there that it was implemented, but let's put a note here to follow up so that I don't just talk out of my rear end this whole time.
Yeah, I think so. I think from what I saw, it was catalog pod spec override. Yeah.
Yeah, it's still open.
Still open.
Yeah, the contention I believe was that we implement more and more of the pod spec until it's just the pod spec in the catalog source.
Right.
Because the features are such that they're like obviously going to follow that trend.
Right. So it becomes embedded pod spec in your catalog.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll just leave a note. So for this user asked, I'll just. Okay. So there's some additional information in the enhancement. I think this particular issue, I mean, it's sort of resolved by that annotation, but in general, I think there's still some open questions about how we want to. If the journey becomes more and more of an issue, how we want to tackle that. Okay. Update process question. Process of updating OLM. Okay. Does anyone have any thoughts on this? Updating OLM from one version to another.
I just upgrade OpenShift.
Right.
Cheat.
Yeah, if you're updating the whole cluster, then OLM will get updated. But in place, I don't know if is there an issue with just removing and reinstalling? Is there anything? Is there anything beyond that we can? So I think there's another issue around provide uninstall that sh. So we don't provide a handy way of uninstalling. But these issues are kind of linked together.
Yeah, we don't have a Helm chart for this anymore, do we? Or is it super old and we just don't use it anymore?
I don't think we maintain a help. We haven't maintained.
We've
a Helm
never
chart.
maintained a Helm chart.
Yeah, okay. I've seen one. I just wasn't sure where it came from.
We used Helm templates to stamp out releases, but it's not. We don't publish a Helm
Gotcha.
chart from it.
Okay.
Mhm. So,
I would
But
just
it's-
close that as the operator SDK handles it. The previous one, sorry.
this one.
Yeah, because SDK
sure.
OLM uninstall was the but I'm not against OLM providing official uninstall script.
I think that's a reasonable request. If we're doing an uninstall, we should probably have an uninstall too, right?
Yeah. It's fair.
Yeah, but I think it would have to be provided in the release. Like it'd have to be per version. We'd have to maintain it, right? Like if we add new custom resources or other types to OLM, then that script would have to be updated to have that information as well. So it has to be maintained, I think.
Isn't the install script maintained?
Well, I think it's version, but I guess it is maintained. Yeah. No.
Yeah, I guess I'm just wondering what the difference is, other than yes, it's another thing to maintain, but it's the same. It's just undo what you did in the install.
That's fair.
I mean, I don't even know if it's anything more than kubectl delete with like a dash all and using a specific label.
Right. Yeah, using the label stuff there. I think that's
The only reason we have an install script is because you can't kubectl apply CRs and CRDs at the same time, because the ordering doesn't, like, you can try to apply the CR before the CRD has been applied, and it'll implode, and that's why. And I'm not even sure that's per release, the install script. I think it's just going through the current release. It's been a while since I looked at it though.
yeah.
Let me take a look.
I'm looking at it. It doesn't have a lot of churn.
Right. That's
Yeah.
what I was thinking. It's not really. It doesn't have to be maintained, I guess, that much. Maybe uninstall doesn't have to be maintained. So okay. So sorry. So with this uninstall script, seems like it's something that we would be interested in potentially providing.
This would be a good first timer for somebody like me. Okay.
Totally.
I'm a bash guy. I'm not a code or a Go guy, so it's probably something I could actually do.
Yeah, no, this is a good first issue for sure. Okay, I'll just say that we're open to it. I don't know that necessarily we need to put it in the milestone. in the next release, but we put it in our backlog. And then as this relates to the previous issue, updating OLM from one version to another, I don't know. I don't know that we have any documented way of doing it at all, and we would just maybe running uninstall and then install. There's no uninstall, so manually uninstalling.
Well, you wouldn't want to uninstall all the CRDs, right? You couldn't do that because your subscriptions would go away. And
Right.
so you just want to install pieces of it.
I mean, isn't this just a matter of just doing an apply for the latest version of your CRD and OLM YAMLs and all the rest of that stuff? So it's just like another kube apply of the latest version that you've actually got, you know, in your quick
Yeah.
start directory. So it's just
Yeah.
a reapplication of
Yeah,
that.
if you just reran the install script based on the new version, it should just overlay it, right?
It should edit them in place, edit like the deployment spec, and yeah, and edit the CRDs in place. I guess that's the recommended way.
This starts to get a little weird. Like it's to the point. So OLM is an operator, right? And we can have changes between our CRDs, and we want all the same things. There was, like, from the beginning, an idea that we wanted to sort of what was it called, dog food ourselves. So like this is where self-hosting, self-packaging, whatever you want to call it, OLM would be useful. Like if you have an OLM bundle, right, and OLM could upgrade itself. Because once you start getting into the domain of like changing CRDs, all of that, all of the stuff that OLM does and gives you for that is kind of what you need to do it successfully over time.
I'm with you. Needs to match a life cycle of itself. I think the short-term solution, though, I'm just looking at the install script. You certainly can, for a normal release that doesn't have like breaking changes and things like that. I think just rerunning that install script against the new release tab would work. Because thankfully we're using apply and all that stuff like John just brought up.
Okay. Yeah, but to your point, Nick, it's interesting. If we could just install OLM via OLM, and then, well, yeah, but I think
So short term, it sounds like we can be like, this is the advice on the download. You just reapply the install, and then long term, we want to look at packaging OLM and having it sort of bootstrap and self upgrade.
So you're thinking about using the install script to do the initial install and then use it in OLM to update itself?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
so safely enough.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much what CVO has been doing to upgrade OLM for clusters since 4.1 or whatever, first
Just
OpenShift
right.
4.
Just apply the manifest. And, yeah. Okay, maybe we can close this if we feel confident and essentially.
Yeah, well, it's just a question.
Just a question. All right, so we'll respond. Maybe we can close it. Close it. All right. See how they respond. We'll put it in the backlog. This. Okay. This one will triage. So.
So we got 15 minutes left. Did you want to hit any of the operator registry ones?
Yeah, we can go over the registry. I know we've been doing good on these OLM issues, but we should go over to registry. Here we go. So first up, bundle unpacker is not idempotent by Chris. So you opened this, Chris, yesterday. Do you want to just tell us about it?
Yeah, so we had a customer issue where somehow there was a problem on their cluster which caused a bunch of pod runaway. They called it runaway pods, and I guess I really don't know what the deal was with that. But the side effect was that they decided to create a quota against the OpenShift marketplace, which is the OLM directory, where all the global catalog sources are created. And so the side effect of that is that pods would get rejected from getting created for the catalog service, or for the various catalog pods, right? Which we just got done talking about how it's its own controller. And so what happened is that sometimes they would get created and the controller wouldn't detect that. And then the unpack job, which is trying to unpack specific versions of an operator, would run multiple times against the exact same ID, the exact same config map. So once the one of them completed, all of the other ones would fail with a crash loop back off forever. So it certainly felt like that the unpacker job is not idempotent, means they can't run more than once. So you get this duplicate key exception. So if you scroll to the right there, you can see that right in the middle of the error. Yeah, basically it couldn't create that YAML file key inside the data blob inside the config map because it was already there.
Wow, wait a minute. Okay, so the issue is if you run the same unpack job more than once, it'll fail because it's trying to write a key to the config map that's already existing.
Right, it's doing an insert rather than a put.
Huh.
And I'm sure it's a really odd race condition, and it probably happens like one time out of a million. But for this customer, it happened all the time because of some weird state their cluster was in. And I don't know how they got into that weird state, and they ended up deleting the cluster. But I thought it was interesting that it might be one of those edge cases inside the unpacker job. I don't know if you guys are experts on this job or not, but I know it uses the CPB tool or whatever. I think I saw another issue come in the past couple of weeks saying stop using the CPB tool. So I'm not sure with some bigger changes going on there.
Oh yeah, the CPB. No, we use that. We use that right in the unpacking. It has some custom,
Right.
a little bit of custom logic in there.
Sure.
So, I mean, ideally the job would be item mode, and I think that's definitely a nice property of it, but
So I don't know how high priority this is, other than, maybe put it in the backlog, and maybe if someone's messing with the unpacker job in the future, make it better. That's kind of all I'm kind of after. Make sure it gets documented so people can Google for it and see it. So if it starts being pervasive, we can see some record of it.
no, it's interesting because I know in the new APIs as well, we're also doing the same thing. And this
Sure.
might be an interesting thing to think about as we have a sort of like a storage interface, and we're kind of like, our first storage backend is config maps, but it's something interesting to keep in mind, that this uniqueness of the keys are cool. Okay, so we'll put it in the backlog for now as an issue to keep an eye out for. Okay, next one, release OPM with skip TLS verified use HTTP flag in OPM render. Let's see this issue.
Oh, yeah.
Malware issues and configure for HTTP. Okay. Oh, no. Oh, so they have open PR. So does this PR address their needs? Yeah, it looks
Merged.
or release OPM. Okay, so I think maybe they got this in and now they're just looking for a release. Okay. Release required. So this should just go into the next release. We should. What release are we on in on the registry side of things? We did 120 27 days ago. Okay, so this do we have any objection to cutting next release? Pretty soon. Do we have Go releaser set up on this? This is just simply a matter of pushing a tag. I can look into that, but maybe we should do a release of registry to get this in. That'll be a follow-up for me. Cool. Okay. Okay, cool. Next, OLM bundle unpacker doesn't handle manifest files with invalid Kubernetes object names. Creating an operator bundle. Chris, this is one of yours.
Yeah. Let's see here. I thought Joe responded to, I think here. Oh yeah, this is basically where I was trying to put a plus in the, so typically when you name or version a CSV, it uses a Semver version typically, and then I was trying to use a build meta, the Semver like the plus on the end of it, and I was using all my tooling, which of course created YAML files with pluses in them, which is bad because those YAML files are converted into that bundle unpacker, goes ahead and tries to create keys in the config map data object, and those are not valid kube object names, and so it blows up. So there's some code inside the unpacker which tries to be smart and replace those invalid characters with valid characters, but it replaces them with tildes, which are not valid characters. So it needs to use underscores or something instead.
Wow, that's really interesting that it uses tildes.
Yeah, so if you look at that list, that snippet below, that's the actual source where that is.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Well, normally this wouldn't ever happen because the bundle validate would catch this stuff even before you created the thing. But I wasn't using that for stupid reasons, and I got through it.
Yeah, I wonder why I'd replace it with a tilde of all things.
The only thing I could think of is this is a copy and paste from some other translate for some other purpose thing, and not a kube object thing.
So it seems like this we could just, if we just change this, seems like if we change the tilde to underscore, I don't know what other implications that has, but.
Well, the only implications is if there are already config maps out there, well, there wouldn't be, because this can't possibly work. We'd have to look to make sure anybody using this method wasn't using it for some other purpose.
It's like,
Yeah, I think changing to hyphens or underscores or whatever would be probably safe. Again, this is a low severity thing because it just doesn't, if you run the validator on the bundle, it's going to complain about this before you even try to deploy it on a cluster.
this is the, sorry.
So is this the name of the, is this the metadata name for the object that's been created?
Yes, no, it's the inside the bundle, the manifests directory has all those YAML files in it. When those when the unpacker unpacks that bundle, it slams that whole bundle into a config map, and it uses the name of the file as the key in the config map to encode that file. And that key has to be a valid kube name. Does it make sense?
That's fine. I don't have to understand
I
it.
can explain to you offline, John.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. Can I?
So the config map keys have the same limitations as metadata.name around being like valid DNS names and stuff like that? I didn't
Yes.
know that.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess so.
Because I think the reason why I asked is because I guess I didn't realize that the metadata keys also for a config map had the same kind of rules, but that's like an RFC for, you got to be less than 63, like metadata name has to be shorter than 63 characters, only have dashes.
Yep,
And
it's the same thing.
same thing. Okay, so.
Yep, yeah, it's like RFC 1587 or something
Sure.
like that, whatever, it's the same one.
Or, yeah, I think it was like 1053 or something, but whatever, it doesn't matter. Yeah, point is that, yeah, you have to follow the right rules.
Yep. If nothing else, Kuba is kind of consistent with that rule. So.
Okay, well, that's interesting.
Yeah, I've definitely seen the validation logic, but I haven't seen anything that actually does a sanitize to those formats either. So you usually, we've always had to roll our own kind of thing to try to do the actual conversion to make sure that you're compliant.
Yeah. If you actually roll through the error, it actually tell you what the RFC number is and everything in there too.
Yeah, yep, exactly.
I think I don't know necessarily this is low. I think maybe we can backlog it for now. I'm going to try to cut a register release. I don't know if we need to fix this in time for that. And I think we're basically out of time. Thank you all for attending. I think this is really productive today. I did want to take a look at some of the issues in other open repositories, but I guess in an hour we just get through some OLM issues and some registry issues, and that's about it. So thanks everyone for attending, and we have a working group next week. Please come bring any suggestions or just for discussion there, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks.
All right, thank you.